Hello, my name is Debbie Jacobs, and I'm new to YouTube, but I wanted to post a video. I have a Facebook account. I've been posting videos on Facebook, and I have been working on my own healing and my own awakening for many years. I started at a point, a very low point of living with depression, anxiety, and bipolar. And some circumstances really put me on the healing path. I left therapy after over 10 years. I got no results. And then I started working with a life coach. They opened me up to the whole world of healing. And it took me 5 years. 5 years I worked on my healing and my awakening. And I was successful. And over the course of my healing in the 5 years, I developed an app that reprograms the subconscious mind. This was, very pivotal in my healing because, what our healing is, it is a restoration of our beautiful, authentic self, the self that we were meant to be before hurt veered us off course and into the ego self, and, to heal from the ego self back to the self we were intended to be, the healed self, the Debbie that I was meant to be. That takes, a spiritual awakening. And you cannot have a spiritual awakening without positive thoughts. And once you have positive thoughts, then you are able to accomplish healthy self-esteem. And having positive thoughts and having healthy self-esteem is like the final pieces of the spiritual awakening that restores us to our authentic self before, hurt set in, before the ego self. And the ego self is the negative thinker. So if you have negative thoughts, that's your indication. That's one of, because there's many characteristics of the ego self. Selfishness is, self-serving is also another characteristic. And guess what? When you are out of the ego self, you're not thinking just about myself and my own personal gain. I'm thinking about happiness and the happiness of other people, specifically people living with mental illness, because if I was able to heal myself and, reconnect with my authentic self, then so can they. And, it's part of our healing. We need healing, people that have mental illness. This has been a journey for me. So my claim is that my app, called My Inner Voice, was an important piece of curing myself of depression, anxiety, and bipolar, because depression, anxiety, and bipolar and mental illness doesn't exist in negative thoughts. That's the ego self. That's the hurt self. The healed self has the positive thoughts. And only in positive thinking are we able to accomplish healthy self-esteem. Why is that? Because our negative thoughts shoot it down, and we don't feel good about ourselves because our negative thoughts shoot us down, put us down, create anger, create guilt, create shame, create insecurity. We don't feel good when we, are angry. We are, create sadness, and it's a reactionary response. And that really is more of the ego self, because the ego is the root of unhappiness. So really, it takes learning all about the ego self and getting out of the ego self to reconnect with our healed self, because we're not healed if we're in the ego self. That's the hurt self. And I have been on this journey, for 7 years, and Eckhart Tolle, Muji was not part of my healing process. I haven't really listened to them. What I did try and read a book from Eckhart Tolle, and I really didn't get into it. It's a little too intellectual. It's like, really just be a normal person and talk like a human being. But I didn't find him. I did not connect with him at all. And, I kind of realized that I was watching them recently. And, I don't think that either one of them have the spiritual awakening. I think that they may think that they have the spiritual awakening. But what they're missing is the positive thoughts. And if they don't have the positive thoughts, they don't have the healthy self-esteem. And there's only one way to have healthy self-esteem and to get out of ego. And guess what? Both, it's the same way. It is, the same way to get out of ego is the same way to build self-esteem. So it's like the ego goes down, self-esteem goes up. You can't have it. You can't have both at the same time. And you can't, you are not going to, you can't have healthy self-esteem until you get out of ego. But they do it the same way. And that has to do with validation. So, and, another thing is that when this is a huge learning process. It's a huge learning process. It's been my focus. I work with life coaches. I took many programs and seminars and retreats and workshops. Over a 5-year course, I spent $300,000 on my healing. And I was successful. And also that involved creating the app. Although the app is separate, was not included in the $300,000. And, this is what it goes, this is what goes into healing. So that's that says something that we need to make some changes in our parenting. No kid should, have to go through 5 years taking off their life and spending so much money to heal themselves. Parents can't make mistakes. That pilots can't make mistakes, doctors can't make mistakes, and parents can't make mistakes. But one of the things that I had, accomplished was the way to build self-esteem. And between the positive thoughts and the self-esteem, that's two things that people with mental illness, and there's 400 million people with mental illness or depression, so that's plus, what they all have in common is they have negative thoughts and low self-esteem. So to accomplish positive thoughts and healthy self-esteem, I assert is the cure for mental illness. And not only that, but it's the spiritual awakening that is the cure for mental illness. It's healing that is the cure for mental illness. And you know what? Nope, I don't think that anybody has it, because I wasn't able to accomplish positive thinking without the creation of my inner voice. So I, for, almost 2 years, was reframing my thoughts. I did a lot of focus on mind work, on mindset work. I was reframing my thoughts, but I couldn't get my thoughts to come positive until I created and used the app. And the app is a Louise Hay idea. Louise Hay has been influential in my healing, on my path. And other healers within the Louise Hay organization has been helpful. Positivity has been the major change, going from negativity to positivity. That seems obvious, right? Doesn't that seem like an obvious solution to depression, to be more positive? Well, it is. And so, I am asserting that, and not only do I have the cure for, depression, anxiety, bipolar, but it's also the spiritual awakening. And that really helps people that are unconscious. My goal is to wake the dead. The dead is the mentally ill, because they are like, I try and tell people that I want to help them heal their depression, and they call me a troll. They call me, I get out of here with your positivity and all this stuff. It really is kind of crazy, when I was in my worst places, I still never acted like that. I never was like a mean person who, I had anger issues, but I was never someone who attacked someone. I was more the reactionary person from getting attacked. And getting my feelings hurt, whatever. But I wouldn't attack somebody who's trying to help me, So I wanted to do this video because, I think it's significant. I think it's really significant. And I do want to help people live their best life, achieve their happiness, achieve their freedom, achieve their independence, make the best of their life. We have one life on this planet, increase their positivity. And then also my goal is to have a significant change in the parenting setup, because the parenting setup actually, the parenting dynamic is not in favor of children. The children end up getting invalidated in the relationship, and that causes hurt and pain and the ego self. The parents who were invalidated as kids, when it's their turn to be the parents, they keep the validation for themselves. The children get invalidated like they were invalidated, and the children don't develop healthy self-esteem, and the parent doesn't develop healthy self-esteem because the parent doesn't have healthy self-esteem and is taking the validation because they need to validate themselves, which is like so silly, the kids need the validation. So our parenting system is actually set up to create, because the ego self is the parent. And when the ego self is the parent, the child is going to grow up and turn into the parent, which is the ego self. But we don't want kids, getting hurt. We don't want kids having negative thoughts. Negative thoughts, like basing your decisions on negative thoughts, does not serve you. And that is of the ego self. That's why the ego is the negative thinker. So, there's a lot that I would like to accomplish. I have a background in human resources. I was, in the corporate world for many years. And then through my own healing, of course, now I want to help other people heal. The app is only available through my coaching services. Reprogramming the subconscious mind is not a do-it-yourself thing at all. It needs guidance, directions. Plus, I have a mastery of thought program where I help to teach you how to control your thoughts, how to take the mind off autopilot, shut off the internal chatter. We don't need that. That's not good for us. And get rid of our negative thoughts. Get rid of thoughts that don't serve us. Get rid of non-productive thoughts. So really kind of like cleaning up what's going on in the mind. Getting rid of the past. We don't need the past, and focusing on how to be present and everything. So I don't really consider myself a healer, but I do want to help people accomplish this, get rid of their insecurities, get rid of their anger, get rid of the shame, get rid of the guilt, because none of that stuff is going to leave on its own. It will stay with you till your grave unless you kick it out. You got to get rid of it all. And I want to help people accomplish that. So I, am now set up to do coaching because it takes time. And, I have a lot of information to share on how to accomplish getting out of the ego self, getting out of depression, anxiety, bipolar. I haven't worked with OCD or